Hey guys, welcome to Friday. Now, today is a significant day here in the state of Texas where I live and some other states around the country because today marks the gradual reopening of business. Now, businesses can begin to open, but at limited capacity as part of a step towards gradually moving us to where we go back to business and all businesses are open. Now, there are a lot of feelings about this on either side. There are those who feel like it's about time. Why have we waited so long? And there are others who feel like it's not yet time, and we're possibly making a mistake and could be causing some issues. Now, regardless of where you fall on that issue, I'm not here to promote one way or the other. Do I have thoughts on it? Of course. I just won't burden you with them here today. What I wanted to share was some thoughts that I think can be helpful going into this weekend, regardless of which side that you fall on in this decision. And here's the first one. We need to understand that permission is not a requirement. Okay. What that just means is that just because we have permission to do something doesn't mean we're required to do so. That means that businesses do not have to open unless they want to open. And there may be situations where certain businesses, and I know this is the case here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where I live, where businesses didn't feel quite ready to do that, and they're choosing not to. But that's the beauty of it. Permission is not a requirement. Just because we're allowed to do something doesn't mean that it's in our best interest necessarily to do it. And that leads me to the second statement. We have the power to choose how we respond. That's the beauty of living here in this country, is that we, most of the time at least, have the power of choice. And that is the case this weekend. We have the power of choice. Businesses, companies, organizations, churches all have the power to choose how they respond to this permission they've now been given. And they can choose to reopen with the restrictions that have been given, or they can choose to wait. That's their choice. We as individuals get to choose whether or not we want to go to these places of business if they open. We don't have to. We're not required to. Just because a restaurant opens doesn't mean I have to go there this weekend. Just because a business opens doesn't mean I have to go. That's the beauty of it. And that's why I said I think it can encourage us on either side of this. Permission is not a requirement, and we have the power to choose how we respond. Now, a little further in that response is I get to choose how I respond to the whole situation. For me to say, well, I don't believe we should open, so I hope everything goes crazy this weekend and lots of people get sick and it spikes. And so that'd be a crazy position to take. I don't think that's helpful for you, and I don't think it'd be helpful for anyone else. At the same time, we shouldn't be trying to just prove something to each other. I think that leads me to my third thought here, and that is we should be prepared for the worst, but we should also hope for the best. We should be prepared for whatever the worst case scenario might be, but we should be hoping for the best possible of outcomes. Now, some of you know or are aware that I spent a good majority of my adult life as a pastor. I was a minister serving churches up and down the states and across, even internationally, serving people. And I often and daily go to the scriptures for thoughts that give me encouragement and help me make decisions. There were a couple of those that I thought I would just mention here today. The first is in the New Testament. The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, and again in chapter 10, he refers to this. All things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient. Another way of saying that is, I may be allowed to do things, but that doesn't mean they're beneficial to me. So that helps me in this whole idea of we have permission, but we're not required. Just because I can do a thing doesn't mean I should do a thing and that it would be in my best interest to do that thing. So that is where our power of choosing this weekend comes into play. The other scripture is Proverbs 21, verse 31. And in the Message version of the scriptures, it says this: do your best, prepare for the worst, trust God to bring the victory. That particular verse is helpful to me in saying that we should be prepared for the worst possible outcomes or scenarios, but we need to do our best and hope and trust that we'll see the best possible outcome. I hope that as you go into this weekend, regardless of where you fall on the spectrum of too soon, not soon enough, that you can keep those three thoughts in mind. Number one, permission is not a requirement. Number two, we have the power to choose how we respond. And number three, we should prepare for the worst, but be hoping for the best possible outcome. Well, congratulations, you made it to Friday, and a significant Friday it is. As we go into this weekend, I hope that you and yours do very, very well. If you're a business, company, organization, church, and you've decided to open, I trust that all will go well for you and that you have planned a way in which you can do that that is the best possible way for your customers and your people, and that it goes well. If you are an individual, I pray that you would make the decisions. I hope that you will make decisions that you are able to feel good about and that you'll shoulder that responsibility wisely. Hey, let's take care of one another. Let's stay connected. We'll get through this together as we prepare for the worst possible scenario, but hope for the best possible outcome. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon.